Hey there, it's been a minute. Welcome to the Producer Joe Show. Uh, Today is Sunday, kind of a gloomy Sunday. Sun is kind of out, but we have forgive me, I'm doing my button pushing and everything. I need a producer. I need a producer for the Producer Joe Show. Anyways, I have a really good guest on today. He's a friend of mine, author Stephen Prendergast. He's got a new book coming out, and he wants to talk about an event coming up this weekend right up the hill. And at the Trevi Hills Winery. So, as they say, without further ado, Steve, hello.
Hello, Joe. How are you doing?
Doing all right. How are you?
I'm doing just great. You know,
Excellent.
the weather is a little bit down, but it's supposed to clear up before next weekend, so that's the good thing.
Yay. Well, we have a trip planned this week, assuming Amy's health conditions improve.
Mhm.
If anybody follows me, they know that we've been going through some stuff, but I think we'll be just fine. We're supposed to go up to Anaheim, go see the big fat mouse,
Uh-huh.
and hopefully the weather will cooperate.
Well, we'll
So,
keep fingers crossed for you.
thank you. Um, so, talk to me. What's going on here? Tell me about yourself first off.
All right. Well, I am a middle school English teacher. I've been doing that for longer than I'd like to say, but it's fun. I think dealing with the kids kind of keeps me from getting old too fast. Um, I'm also a writer and a photographer. I used to do photography for an old website called Demotics, not Demonics. Okay, but it got bought up by one of the big photojournal corporations, and then that one got bought up by another, and then anyway. But I had some fun with that. I took a short turn as a sports photojournalist for an online soccer magazine, which again no longer exists. And then for the last few years, I've been doing some writing, and I'm well on the way to creating a 6-book series.
Now, you mentioned you have published one book.
That
Did
is
I get it
correct.
right?
That is it. The Sword of Degaz.
Talk to me about that briefly. What is that all about?
All right. Well, this is a buddy story, portal fantasy adventure. Two guys, Alan and Jason, they're medieval reenactors, and they're at one of these medieval / Renaissance fairs. And that evening, as they're heading back to their car, they hear a woman screaming up in the hills above the fairgrounds. This starts off in the hill country in Texas. And they go running up there. They're in costume. They both have swords. And they see this woman, and she seems to be fighting off 3 wolfmen. And so, of course, they go in and, sword slashing. And when Alan stabs one, his sword bursts into flame and incinerates the monster. And the next thing they know, the woman grabs them, pulls them into this dark vortex. And as Jason likes to say, they end up somewhere under the rainbow. And then they have to figure out how to stop a megalomaniac from taking over the land that they've been brought to, and figure out how to get home anyway. So they have 6 books of adventures. The first one involves trying to block a mountain pass before an invading army can get through.
Well, that's all very exciting.
Mhm.
I should also note that your icon, I
Mhm.
placed it up there in the top corner, and
Yes.
Steve's daughter did that, created that. I think it's pretty
Mhm.
cool. So that's going to stay up there for the duration of the show here. I
All
wanted
right.
to point that out. That's cool.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um,
A little more background. The title, "The Sword of Degaz," it's inspired by
oh,
this. This
wow.
was my great grandfather's ceremonial sword from the Knights of Pythias, and this is the sword that inspired the sword in the series. So,
Do you want to see my sword?
is that safe?
I know where
Aha.
that could have gone, but show that off as much as I can.
Yeah.
So this will be a 6-book series, you say, right?
Yes.
So how long do you think that this will take for you to get to the 6th book? Do you have a timetable?
Timetable will. The thing is, I have written the draft of 5.5 books, maybe 5 and 2/3 books.
Wow.
So I'm not going to do a George R. R. Martin or Patrick Rothfuss, and say, oh, maybe I'll get around to the last book sometime. So I'm shooting for 2 books a year, 1, 2 books. Basically, the first book came out last July. The second book I was hoping to have out this in February, but some issues with the upload are kind of delaying that. So that one should come out this month, and then the book 3 will be sometime around late summer. That one is going to be called "The Land of the Khalik." The second book, which I have the proof here, is called "The Cult of Tufrak." And this one deals with a murderous cult, a traitorous priest, all the good stuff.
Now, in addition to teaching and writing, you also dabble a bit in media, am I right?
Yes, I do. I'm a partner in a small company, Kamatoy Media Group. And yesterday we were doing some interviews for the authors that are going to be involved in the San Diego Wine and Book Fest this Saturday.
Well, I think that's some information we're going to be getting to here pretty shortly.
Mm-hmm.
It's up at the Trevi Hills Winery, am I correct?
That's correct.
Sorry, I'm just doing producer stuff behind the scenes here, so I don't want to appear as I'm not paying attention. I'm listening to every word, buddy.
Yeah. Well, you just need a producer for your producer show.
That's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying. I got to teach these chickens out here how to help me out a little bit.
Just put a little feed on the keyboard.
Yeah, dink, 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 dink. Yeah, I get it. So talk to me about next weekend's event up there at Trevi Hills. What is it? What's going on? Who's going to be there?
All right.
Food?
No, there will not be food unless you bring it. They don't have any food available, but there will be wine. Trevi Hills they're fairly recent. I think they're about 4 or 5 years old, but they have their vines have been in the ground for about 10 years now. They have quite a range. They have they've just put in some Merlot and a couple of others. They have Sangiovese. They have a white and a rosé. So if you like wine, it's a great place to go, and it's not a long drive. But I guess about 6-8 months ago, I got this thought, because my girlfriend and I go up to Trevi Hills every now and then. I thought, what if we just did a book and wine event? So I talked to Mike, the GM up there, and he said, yeah, let's do it. So I've been working on that. We're going to have 8 authors and 1 illustrator, and they're going to be sharing their books and talking about what it takes to put some of these books together. We're going to have some author readings. We're going to have a couple of contests. We're going to have one contest for your favorite table. So, which display do you like the best? And then there's also going to be a little contest for the people who come from an invitation from one of the authors, and going to give away a bottle of wine for each, or the equivalent.
Side note, you asked a rhetorical question, do you like wine? And I have a Trevor Hoffman wine here. It's a limited edition. Kurt Babakwa gave that to me, so I hold that very very close to me there. So I have an event flyer here which provides some of the information. We can get a flyer in greater detail later in the show, but this is the gist of it, right?
Right. March 9th from noon to 4 o'clock at Trevi Hills Winery. They're located at 13010 Muth Valley Road. It's really like 8 minutes past El Capitan High School. So it's real easy to get to.
Yeah, it's a piece of cake to get up there. So we're going to get into what's going on up there a little bit later. Did you want to talk about some other authors that are on your radar?
Well, real quickly, let me introduce some of the authors who are going to be there. We have Marcy Dewey Mahoney is the author of the Archwild book series. She has her first book, Archwild, up and out in the world, and she's also going to bring some writing journals. Her book is kind of a fantasy romance with a little bit of spice to it. Her husband is going to be there also. He is Brian Mahoney, and he is a poet. He's also a former journalist. He worked for the LA Times. Before that, he was back in New York and in Massachusetts. And his book, Lost Poetry of Los Angeles, it's a compilation of poems that he has written on the street using an antique typewriter. And these are poems that he wrote for people, and they never came back for the poem. And so he's collected these along with a few other poems, and he has that for us. We have Dara Parek, who has released a book, Unearthing Idol. It's a science fiction. She calls it literary science fiction. It's the story of two people trying to find their place in the world or worlds. And what is your idol, or your special place? She also has a collection of short stories called Take a Seat at the Cosmic Campfire. And that has 5 different short stories, again, all with a science fiction theme. Dara is originally from India, and so she's bringing Indian culture and elements to science fiction. And at the same time, she's trying to take science fiction to India and make it a more popular genre there. We have H.D. Scott with his book, Glick's Fables, Volume 1, Isle of the Charred Maiden. And this book it's a humorous fantasy adventure that revolves around a goblin who is actually intelligent, unlike most goblins. And he breaks out of the goblin caves and with his pet rat, and he goes on an adventure. He wants to become a great storyteller. And this is the first of his fables that he shares. We have Jacob Hafner, and author and Clarissa Janine illustrator, with The Squirrel and the Moon. This is a darling little picture book. It actually began as a poem in a writing class in a college that they were both going to. And he wrote this poem, and she said, I think this would be a great illustrated book. So she did the illustrations. And then he wrote music to go along with the poem so that parents can sing the story to their children. We have Morgan Dangerfield with Heroes of Evermore, An Unlikely Gathering. This is a fantasy adventure based on a Dungeons and Dragons campaign.
Oh.
So if any of you out there are D&D nerds, come on out, talk to Morgan. He'll tell you a little bit about what it took to create this from a campaign. And we have Brian Cantrell with Pirates of the Wild West. And this book is, well, it's a what if. It's a historical fantasy. And what if the greatest pirates of the golden age of piracy were time ported to the Old West? So you have, Blackbeard and some of the other great pirates. They're picked up during a meeting on the Queen Anne's Revenge, swirled forward in time, and dumped into San Francisco Bay, where the ship sinks. And so they have to figure out how to deal with this new world, 100 years plus in the future from where they came from, how to raise the Queen Anne's Revenge and then get back home to the 1700s. And then, of course, you have my book, too.
Is that book rated R?
Arr, aye, it is.
And then, as you mentioned,
The Sword of Digaz, yes.
you will, yeah, gotcha. So here's a little glimpse of what Trevi Hills Winery looks like. I know a lot of my friends go up there. I haven't been up there yet. I need to get up there. I hear it's just beautiful.
It is. It's really picturesque. Evenings are wonderful. There's a fire pit there. You can sit and look out over the hills as the sun goes down. Listen to just the sound of nature. Every now and then you hear a car going past the winery, but it's really quiet. They have bocce ball area. They have cornhole. It's all ages. There are always families up there with kids. So come on up, bring the kids, and pick up a picture book for the little ones.
Yep, that's right. Okay, so I mentioned I'd show a little bit more detailed flyer here. So here's
Right,
the authors that you had previously mentioned, including yourself.
right. So across the top, we have Brian Mahoney on the top left. In the middle is Brian Cantrell, and then illustrator Clarissa Janine. Next row is her author, Jacob Hafner. In the middle is Dara Parek, and then Marcy Mahoney. And then the bottom, we have H.D. Scott, Morgan Dangerfield, and then some guy with a hat.
Some guy with a hat. He looks familiar to me.
I've seen him somewhere before. Every morning, I look in the mirror and that guy's looking back at me.
I wanted to give you kind of a two-part shout out here in a way. You had taken a picture of my daughter and I years ago, and it's one of my favorite pictures. And you
Oh
mentioned
my gosh.
a photographer, and that right there is one of my favorite pictures of me and my daughter Kat. And the other reason I wanted to bring it up is her birthday was 2 days ago, so I wanted to give her a little shout out on the show. Happy birthday!
Happy
And
birthday, Kat.
just show my appreciation for how much I really, really have always liked that picture. And I
I'm
keep it
glad you
right
enjoyed
there.
it.
Easy to find. I keep it right there, easy to find.
Mhm.
So I don't know if you want to give a little kind of synopsis of everything that's going on, and then if you have anything else, throw it out there. If not, we could put a wrap on this.
All right. All right. So once again, folks, if you like wine, if you like books, the San Diego Wine and Book Fest at Trevi Hills Winery. Again, that is this coming Saturday, March 9th from noon to 4 o'clock. Come on up, bring some snacks, enjoy some wine, talk to the authors. We're going to have author readings. We're going to have just a whole bunch of fun. And then shout out to Joe here for putting me on here. God, we go back quite a few years to Santee when I was back there. I remember when I was doing scouting Santee with the chamber, writing about what was going on.
Yep.
I still get hits on that sometimes.
Well, that's exactly where that photo was taken, was the Santee, big Santee Park there.
Yep. The 4th of July.
Yep, 4th of July. You're right. They're a big shindig on 4th of July.
Yep.
Santee salutes.
That's right.
Well,
and then last of all, I know you've got a little crawler down there to contact me, author SJ Prendergast at gmail.com. And you can find me on social media at author SJ Prendergast on Instagram and Facebook. So give me a follow. You can also find my series, The Golden Zillant, and that is at _golden_Zillant, which is ZILANT. That's the name of the series, and it'll also be the title of the final book of the series.
All right. Well, I believe that puts a wrap on that.
All right.
I really do appreciate you coming on here.
Appreciate you having me.
Pardon?
I said, appreciate you having me on.
Yeah. Absolutely. I told you I would, and here I am, keeping my word.
That's right.
But from here on out, I will bid you adieu. I will hit the closing button, and thank you very much, and I will catch you down the road, sir.
Sounds good. Have a good one, Joe.
You too.
Say hi to Amy.
I will. Thank you. Bye-bye now.
Bye.